Hi, all. I'm Wendy. This is Pajama Days. I started this YouTube channel because I have had breast cancer in the past and I have to take medicine that causes fatigue. And if I'm at home, I'm in my pajamas and I do little tasks and sit down and put my feet up and rest a while. And when you live a busy life and you are used to working full time and going to church 3 times a week and going to church extra sometimes or early for choir practice or, go out to eat some, cook some. When you're really busy and then all of a sudden you have to stop and say, what do I have to do, and reevaluate everything because you're not able to go, it changes your life. And when you first get diagnosed, you don't know enough even about what questions to ask, and it's overwhelming. So I wanted to try to offer some encouragement and be a resource for people who have been diagnosed so that they know they're not alone. Um, in 2020, I had my annual mammogram, and all my adult years that I've had mammograms, they've always come back normal. And then all of a sudden, they said, we see something we need to take a closer look at. So I had to go back a different day and have they take the pictures closer up or something. And they did an ultrasound. And I really went into that appointment thinking, oh, I've had mammograms before, and ultrasounds are not painful. I don't do pain. And so I was just like, easy peasy, whatever. And that ultrasound was not comfortable. And I was just like, I'm not a violent person, but I really wanted to kick somebody laying on that table, being pressed and pushed on, and they find a spot that they need to look at, and they go over and over and over in the same place, and you're just like, okay, now I'm done. But they set me up for a biopsy, and I believe it was November the 5th that I had my biopsy. And when you have a biopsy on your breast, you lay on your stomach on a table, and your breast actually goes through a hole in the table so that they have access to puncture what they need to puncture or whatever. And they got me ready, and the doctor is always, right there whenever they get ready. And my doctor had some kind of delay. And I laid there for like half an hour before they came in and said, the doctor's running late and all that. So then they let me sit up for a little bit until the doctor was in the building. And then they prepped me again. And that biopsy, the result of that, they called me probably within a week and told me that they had found cancer, but it was stage 0. And usually stage 0 never goes beyond stage 0. So they set me up for an appointment with my surgeon, and he's the person that had done the biopsy. And he's wonderful. I mean, he probably couldn't help the emergency being late, but he's a wonderful, wonderful doctor. And they set me up for an appointment to talk to him. And he said that he wanted to go ahead and remove the area around what they had found. And granted, what they had found was so small that he was surprised the radiologist was even able to find it. And so they were really glad that they caught it early. So They set me up for a second surgical day, and when I had surgery, I had to go to one place and be marked, and I had to put a wire in where the doctor was going to do surgery. And then I literally had to be like taped up and go to another location where they actually did the surgery. So that was just a tiny bit weird and traumatic for me, but you know, I got through it, and it was doable, and it wasn't as bad as what I expected ahead of time. But I was like, what? You're gonna do this at this place, and then I've gotta leave with wires inside my body, like sticking out and taped on the outside to another place. I kind of freaked out a little bit about that. But it was fine. And they did the surgery. They took out a place the size of a lemon around where they had found cancer. And if the camera's shaking, I'm sorry. I literally have my tripod set up on the footrest of my recliner, and I'm sitting crisscross applesauce because my feet are cold. But after that surgery, they said that my cancer was actually stage 1, that there were some cells outside the cell wall. I hope that's right. I'm not a medical person, and there were some cancer cells outside the something wall. I think it was the cell wall. That doesn't sound right to me. But anyway, it changed the fact that this is not ever going to grow to this could grow. Well, then they did pathological studies and found out that the cancer was estrogen fed, which meant I needed to take hormone blockers to keep estrogen from growing, because estrogen would feed cancer if there was more cancer there that they happened to not get. Well, they felt sure they got it all, but they also found that this cancer was triple positive, which means it grows aggressively. So it really, really was a huge blessing that they found it so early, because it was an aggressive growing type of cancer. So after that, I thought, well, that's over. And then the next time I saw my surgeon, he said, well, since there was a little bit of growth, and since it's aggressive, we want to check your lymph nodes and see if there's been any spreading, which they didn't think there was, but as a precaution, they wanted to do that. So in December of 2020, I had my third procedure, which was testing lymph nodes. And they take their samples, and you have to stay in the operating room until pathology says, I see spreading or cancer or whatever, and you need to take some more, or I don't see any and it's fine. So they took samples from several lymph nodes. Everything was fine. They told them they could close me up and not take more. And so that was good news. But through this process, I was just kind of bumfuzzled, because I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't know what question to ask about what was going to happen next. And it was scary, but I wasn't distraught. I still had peace. And honestly, I don't know what people do if they don't walk with Jesus, because he is my peace. And I feel like that first day that they said, we have found cancer, that really should have rocked my world. But I was comforted by the stage 0, and with peace inside, it didn't rock my world. I just knew I was going to have to take one step at a time and take it as it comes and see what happens. So in January of 2021, I had to start taking the hormone blocker. And the first one I started taking was anastrozole. Well, every single person is different. Some people have side effects, some people don't. Some people have had hysterectomies and maybe they've already been through those hormonal side effects. And some people who have not had hysterectomies still don't have symptoms. And that's astounding to me. I have one friend who took tamoxifen. She was much younger when she was diagnosed, and she didn't have any side effects. I have one friend who is older than I am, who was diagnosed after I was, and she is on anastrozole, and she's had no side effects, none. And that's awesome. So when I talk to you about my experience, don't let that scare you and make you think that's going to be your experience, because you may well be one of those people that doesn't have side effects. So don't worry about something that might not happen, because then you're wasting energy on worry about something that you're not going to have to go through. So after a few weeks on anastrozole, I started having hot flashes. I started having joint pains. I had trigger fingers. Like, several of my fingers were trigger fingers. Excuse me. If you don't know what a trigger finger is, it's when you have a difficult time closing up your fist, like your fingers won't fold all the way in. Or if they do, when you open them, they click opening, and like a trigger. And it can be really painful. And to all of a sudden not be able to make a fist. And when I did make a fist, it looked like I was shooting a bird, because this finger wouldn't fold in, and the rest of them would, but not tightly. This one didn't want to fold in, but it did better than this one. So I'm a school teacher, and I give kids thumbs up all the time, and I had to be really careful not to do that, because it, might look like I'm shooting a bird incognito. So anyway, I had radiation, and I don't remember when I started radiation. And if I was really fast at math, I could just probably come up with it, because I know I was finished with radiation on April the 1st or 2nd. And I think my last one was on April the 1st of 2021. I had to have radiation 32 or 33 times. And you do radiation 5 days a week. And it's not a painful experience for the most part. It's an inconvenience. You go to not the doctor's office, but like my place is called a cancer institute. And I would go there and get in a hospital gown and lay on a table, and they had me marked up for where their little lasers had to hit. And while you're having the treatment, it doesn't hurt. But over time, after several weeks, you start to have some pain, but it's not while you're being radiated. It's more like in the evening, like after a sunburn. When you get sunburned, you don't get the pain right away. It's usually that evening that you start feeling it. And over time, my skin started to be irritated and burning like a sunburn. And they gave me stuff to put on it. But I feel like I've gotten ahead of myself. In the beginning, when I was told I was going to have radiation, they told me they expected me to need like 17 rounds or 17 days. And then when I went for my first day of radiation, suddenly it was going to be 33 days. And nobody called and told me that had changed. And that was a little bit of a blow. People who work in radiation and oncology and all that, they are used to their everyday lives, and they know a lot of things that they don't realize we don't know. And I don't want to talk bad about them, but when you're heading into a situation that's completely unknown, it would really be helpful if they would communicate as much information as they can, because you don't know what questions to ask yet. So if you're in that field, maybe, try to find ways that you can do extra communication, even though it takes a little more time and it's less convenient. It really helps the patient's peace of mind. So I had radiation every weekday for 33 days in a row. During that time, my child got COVID, and there were a lot of rules around quarantine and all that, and I didn't know if it was okay for me to go, so I actually went and called from the parking lot and said, I'm here for my appointment, but my child has COVID. Am I okay to have radiation, or do I need to not do that? And they said, oh yeah, even if you had COVID, we have protocol. So once they start that radiation, they have to keep it up. Even if I had COVID, I would have just had to wear a mask, and which we were having to wear a mask anyway. But I got through that with just some, skin burning. It didn't look burned, but it felt like it. But I'm probably gonna stop there for today, because I don't really like to make long videos. They might be boring. They might I don't know. Some people don't have an hour to sit and listen to you ramble. So I'll stop there, but I will say that you just have to not look at the big picture. You really have to focus on 1 minute at a time, because when somebody tells you you've got to take a medicine for 5 years, or you've got to have radiation for a month and a half or whatever, those things can be daunting. And I know that when my grandmother was in her last year or two of life, she was diagnosed with cancer, and she had to go through chemo and lose her hair and all that. And there were days that she would feel like she had lost control of her life, and it would make her angry. And she wore a little turban after she lost her hair, and she would take that off and throw it across the room because she was angry and she needed some kind of outlet. And I was understanding about it, but I didn't really get it until I went through my cancer story started it. It's not finished yet, but I'm closer to finish than I was. I've got 3 years behind me, thank the Lord, and I've still got almost 2 years to go. But there have been times that I've been angry, because you get plunged into a situation that you don't have control over. You can't live your life the way you're used to living it, and it's okay to get mad about it. You just have to kind of regroup and take a deep breath and say, okay, what can I do right now? And that's another reason that I'm doing this YouTube video. It's something that I can do right now. If I'm going to live in my pajamas, I might as well be a happy camper. Happy Camper. I should have named this YouTube channel Happy Camper. But it's tiresome to feel like you have to live your days in your pajamas, but I think I'm still gonna try to make it productive. So, if you know anybody who has been diagnosed with breast cancer, who needs a little bit of, hey, this is what I went through and it's gonna be okay, feel free to send them my way. I'm on Facebook. They can private message me. I can share email address if I need to. Um, you can always subscribe, like, leave a comment here. I just want to encourage people because the road can be long and tiresome, but it's not forever. And I have to remind myself of that daily. This is not going to always be like this. So hang in there, and I'll talk some more about my journey later. And I will do other things like probably cook some things. I intended to have my coffee time with you. I may need to reheat my coffee. Yeah, but that's okay. I'm at home and I'm in my pajamas, and no big deal to reheat my coffee. I love y'all. I hope you have a good day. Be blessed. Send questions my way. Send people my way who need some encouragement. Even if you don't have breast cancer, maybe you still could be encouraged. My health coaches that I have to talk to with my insurance company and do like regular updates, they keep in touch with me every month or every quarter or something. It seems like it's weekly, but it's really not. But they always tell me, oh, I love your attitude. I love your positive outlook. Positive. So maybe I can be positive to somebody and encourage somebody who's got a long road ahead. It might be a long journey, but it's not going to be forever. So hang in there and find things to smile about. Pamper yourself where you can. And I'll talk about ways to do that later. Be blessed. Have a good day.